Welcome into No Pun Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zola. We are continuing on with our A Look Inside series, team previews with the Chicago Bears, Los Angeles Rams, and Josh's beloved Philadelphia Eagles. And joining me, as always, the lovable Joshua Hudson. Josh, how are you?
I'm not even going to lie. I'm a little nervous today. That doesn't happen to me very often, but I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous.
Why is that, Josh?
As you can see, the guy right below me, I did not think that we could get somebody that is this big on the show. I'm absolutely honored. And Ryan, I want to give you a huge shout out for this. So I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce our guest if people can't tell who it is already.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me.
That's what I thought he was too. I was like, it's kind of disrespectful to Ryan, Josh. Wow.
I didn't know you got so nervous every time I was... No,
it takes a lot to make me nervous. I'm just going to say that.
In all seriousness, I've been writing with these guys for 4 years now. Got the pleasure of getting in on the ground floor with the writers. So we welcome Mike, the fantasy hitman, right to the show. Mike's the GOAT, so I'll let Mike go ahead and say a few things. And so
the GOAT, I love it.
Hello. Well, yeah, it's I don't know what's going on in my video. I'm a little bit blown out here. I apologize, or that's just my angelic halo effect upon this podcast. Not exactly sure, but I am loving Joe. The way your name rolls off is Jozolo. Like you need to just turn that into one name. Don't even split those anymore. Your name is Jozolo.
That's what, it's funny you say that because all throughout high school and college, whenever I would talk to someone or meet a new person, they would never call me just Joe. They would call me by my first name. Yeah, by my whole name. Or just by my...
Great.
Yeah, or just by my last name because they really liked just Zolo, straight up.
It's a good one.
I mean, I've heard Han Zolo. Yeah. Oh, you name it, I've probably heard it. And if you can come up with it, then... congratulations for you. You come up with a new nickname for me, and I'm always welcome to that. So thank you, Hitman, for joining us. This is absolutely fantastic. This is going to be an incredible show, ladies and gentlemen. So just to start off, so we are recording our live show right now. If you're listening to the podcast or on 97.3 in Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and you want to see us live, you want to see Hitman's beautiful halo around his body live on air, you want to join us Wednesday nights around 7 o'clock Eastern is when we go live. The podcast or push out the following morning. So if you want to see us, ask us questions live on air like our friend stepmom Lauren is right now.
Hey, Lauren.
Please join us. Yes, Lauren giving us a hey, what's up? Hello, everybody. All right. So before we start off with anything here, the big news, Raheem Mostert has requested a trade. Now, this was interesting because, again, at the time of this recording, this just came out like a couple hours ago. So, I'm a little, I don't know why, right? He was trying to renegotiate his deal. Stuff fell through, and it is what happens. But, I mean, as it stands right now, Mostert is probably the RB1 in San Francisco. It's a crowded backfield with Coleman and Jeff Wilson Jr. Like, all these guys are going to get touches, but I think a lot of people are probably drafting Mostert as the top guy in San Francisco. And let's just start off here. I know we're not talking 49ers specifically all day, but this is big news. We'll start with Mike here. Are you still drafting Mostert as the RB1 right now in San Francisco with everything going on?
Yes, I am. I don't believe that he will be traded. This wasn't Mostert. This was his agent coming out and kind of flexing the muscles and trying to get the man paid. And I'm always on team player, get your money when you can get your money. Mostert is 28. Like, he's not a young running back in the league, and he has never really been paid. Now, while I say I'm always on team player, what's a little bit interesting about Mostert's situation, you go back 2 years ago where he was kind of having a little bit of a breakout. He got this huge opportunity. A couple games in, looks electric, breaks his arm. San Francisco didn't have to bring him back, but they gave him an extension. So it's not like he hasn't made any money, but it's like I feel a little bit conflicted in this one that like San Francisco did him a pretty big solid of giving him a 3-year, multi-million-dollar deal, but he has outplayed that contract, especially if they're going to lean on him. I mean, you trade away Matt Breida, you're sending out the signals that Raheem Mostert and Tevin Coleman are going to be the two guys. And the second half of last year, Tevin Coleman was essentially sent to the bench. I know Coleman had the one playoff game, but if I'm remembering correctly, I think Mostert was dealing with a bit of a injury in that game, and then Mostert took the job right back. So he's the guy. Yes, I would still be drafting Mostert as the RB1. I don't know if I want to draft him in the 4th round. I don't know if I want to pay that price right now. But if you were drafting him like that before, this news is not – I'm not jumping off of that just because an agent's trying to get his player some money.
Yeah, this is just a negotiating tactic. That's all this is. I mean, and really, I think it's a bad one because look at who's sitting there on free agency right now. Devontae Freeman, who's had, history with Kyle Shanahan. Like, I mean, I get you want to get your guy paid, but it's the wrong time to do it. It's just my personal opinion. So
the only thing is, I was going to say the only thing about Freeman is Freeman came right out and said he wants $5 million a year or whatever. If that's all it's going to take to make Mostert happy, they're going to be able to bump that up to where I don't know that that's so much in play. But I think Mike hit it on the head. When Breida left, that opened up this bargaining chip for Mostert and his agent, and they're going to jump on that right now before it starts getting later into the season.
Yeah, and McKinnon took a pay cut. So it's not like they don't have a little extra money that they could throw his way, even if it is just for this year.
Oh, yeah. Jerick McKinnon's still a 49er. How about that name?
Yeah, he's still a thing.
Yeah, completely forgot about that. But something that's interesting before we move into our first team of the night here, the Bears. Looking at Pro Football Reference, according to their stats, Raheem Mostert has played in 50 games in his NFL career. If you're looking at just with the 49ers, he has played in a total of, as I'm trying to do quick math in my head, 36. He's played in 36 games. Not once has he been the starter. So that's something that's interesting. They never have him as the starter. So the 16 games he played last year, he was never a starter. Find that very interesting talking about this RB1 conversation. So from a guy who's currently at RB26, according to Fantasy Pros, to a guy who's now at RB25, David Montgomery, who is Joshua Hudson's upside for the Chicago Bears. Ryan, you have his counterpart in Tariq Cohen. Josh, you have Jimmy Graham as a downside. Thank the Lord. Ryan, you have Allen Robinson.
All right. Way to take the layup.
All right, so yeah, no, literally.
Fans of Jimmy Graham on this show.
Yeah, Mike, you will notice that I despise Jimmy Graham. Nothing against the man as a person. It is strictly fantasy football. I still don't understand why people draft him. It blows my mind. Like, the fact that he's tight end 30 right now makes me mad. Like, he shouldn't be drafted. He shouldn't be drafted. Like, that makes me mad.
I mean, that's a little bit too far. He's the starting tight end for the Bears. That's not saying a whole lot. I mean, granted, like Matt Nagy, that he wanted his Travis Kelce. He paid Burton to come in and try and be that. It didn't work out. So he wants Travis Kelce. I mean, look at the depth chart. Look how many tight ends were on the Chicago Bears. He
There's like 30 of them.
Desperately wants one of them to emerge and be a part of the offense. And I'm generally with you. The past couple of years, I've been shocked that people are going in on Jimmy Graham at the places that they were willing to draft him. But as far as I'm concerned, he's going to be the starter. I don't know if that's better than tight end 30, but he's at least the starter.
He is at least the starter.
I actually looked it up for the show. They have 9 tight ends on roster right now. They have 9 total defensive linemen on roster right now.
I love that.
And they drafted one.
Yeah, hold on. What? They didn't just draft one. They drafted him as their first pick in the draft. Like,
I don't know what they're doing, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, especially with how bad that offensive line is. And they decided to take a tight end. Like, it just makes zero sense to me.
That can't block. Let's just add that in there. Jimmy Graham can't block.
I think he was talking about Kmet.
Yeah.
Oh,
Kmet. Well, and that's the thing.
That's
Kmet
fair.
only has like one good year in college. Like, he was a decent blocker. I didn't think he like blew the lids off of everything, but I mean, he's very raw as a talent. So I like, to me, and we talk about this all the time with, young tight ends coming into the league. It takes time for them to really get acclimated and produce, even from a fantasy perspective, let alone just being able to come in and know all the blocking schemes, the route trees, etc. So I'm not expecting a ton from Kmet this year, but he's definitely somebody to keep an eye on because, again, like he was their first pick this year. They want to get him involved in some way, shape, or form. So we'll see what happens.
When Nick Foles eventually takes over the starting job with absolutely no pressure, he'll look to Cole Kmet, and that's when you want to pick up Cole Kmet. Then he'll be reliable in fantasy football. Trust fall. Josh, you have Allen Robinson. Ryan, you have David Montgomery. Rookie to watch, you both have Cole Kmet, the first pick for the Bears in the 2020 draft. My sleeper, I have Anthony Miller. He currently sits at wide receiver 55. Ooh.
Ooh, 55.
What he...
I was waiting for that.
Oh, Ryan coming through with the merch.
That's it. Boom.
Wow. Nice. Inadvertent plug. That was fantastic. So I just, what Anthony Miller did towards the tail end of last year, I had him as my sleeper going into last year as well, and he was utterly disappointing up until the fantasy playoffs. I hope he carries off that momentum. I think he's a fantastic talent out of the slot. And with no Taylor Gabriel, I think that opens up doors for him a lot more. IDP, Roquan Smith, third-year guy out of Georgia.
Oh, no one told me this was an IDP show. What is happening?
This is all Joe. I humor
Ryan.
him with this.
No.
I am the only...
What is this?
Yeah, I'm the only person on the show that looks for sleepers and that does IDPs. So I highlight the IDP for the minority that does do IDP. I love IDP, but Roquan Smith, an absolute freak out of Georgia. He is incredible. I know he did have some injuries last year, but he should bounce back, have a great year. Okay, from the despising of the best one of the best inside linebackers in the NFL in Roquan Smith, we go to despising a second-year man out of Iowa State that made everybody mad in fantasy football last year that drafted him in like the 11th, 12th round to be one of their running backs, David Montgomery. So, Josh, you're upside here, so I guess I'll let you lead off here. Why do you have Montgomery as an upside? Because I believe Montgomery was our rookie to watch last year for the Chicago Bears. And Ryan, you even have him as your trust fall. So why are we feeling David Montgomery in year two after I guess, lackluster? I don't want to say lackluster because it was decent.
It was lackluster. You can say lackluster. It's okay.
But like
it was bad. But that's like, I don't even know how much of it was his fault.
Yeah.
I mean, just looking at just the offensive line for starters was abysmal last year. I mean, Pro Football Focus had them ranked as the 25th best or 8th worst, I guess, if you want to call it that. There was only one player that even had any sort of impact on that offensive line, and that was James Daniels. And it wasn't even until midway through the year when he switched to left guard when he really took off and actually showed that, hey, I can play in this league. But the one thing that I look at with Montgomery, just look at Chicago's record when they give him the football. When he touches the ball 15 or more times, they're 8-4. When he has 15 or more rushes, they're 6-1. When he has 20 or more rushes, they're 3-1. They win football games when he gets the football. He knows how to break tackles. He was 2 years ago in college at Iowa State. He was next to Devin Singletary, where those two were like the primo guys at breaking tackles. He had 47 broken tackles just last year, which I believe was 8th most in the NFL.
Didn't he have over 100? Like
he had the only 2
tackles?
years that Pro Football Focus had graded missed tackles. He had the only 2 100 or more broken tackle seasons at Iowa State.
Unbelievable.
He was also 75 evaded tackles last year. He was tied with Myles Sanders. And Saquon Barkley only had 68. So these guys that you think of more shifty, he's doing those same things.
Yeah.
It's all about volume.
It just boils down to volume.
It's all about that volume. They didn't do anything to replace David Montgomery. They gave him the pat on the back and said, you're going to be the starter. And so it was very disappointing, but guys that touch the ball 240 times on the ground and have chops in the passing game, they don't just fall out of the tree. Like they're very few and far in between to find them. I believe that David Montgomery will be better but like the work in the 10 zone, 23 carries inside of the 10. That's one fewer carry inside the 10 than Derrick Henry. Like that's 2 fewer carries than Mark Ingram inside the 10. These are very valuable carries. He's going to get them, but he got him last year. He got him last year too, and it was really, really bad. So I'm not sure Nick Foles is that much of an upgrade over Mitch Trubisky.
No, he is not.
I think he is.
At the worst case,
but
it
what
puts
margin?
pressure on Trubisky. There's zero room for error now. So
he's very motivated, as you know. He
that $450 million that Mahomes just got.
No, I'm saying he was motivated when Nick Foles was traded to the team.
There you go, that too. Yeah, I look at, when you're drafting somebody as like a late RB2, RB3 that can give me 260 touches, I want that type of value all day, every day. And that's why I think the upside is there, because strictly from the volume perspective.
And that's exactly why he's my trust fall, is because he's going to touch the ball more than anybody on the team.
Josh, you bring that up. He's, like you said, he's a borderline RB2 right now. He's currently RB25. So we're going on 12-team leagues. He's a borderline RB2. So we're going to play my favorite game before we get to a question here that is a fantastic question from Keith over on Facebook. So, Hitman, we do something here called Would You Rather. The classic Would You Rather.
Please explain how would this game work?
Yes, how does it work? The childish game of Would You Rather. Okay, so Montgomery's currently RB25. We are going to do Would You Rather for your RB2. I'm going to go 3 spots higher of players getting drafted 3 spots higher than David Montgomery and players getting drafted 3 spots lower than David Montgomery. Remember, you are drafting them as your RB2. So would you feel comfortable with David Montgomery or player X as your RB2? So we will start here with Montgomery at RB25. We go to Jonathan Taylor at RB22. So we'll start with Josh. Josh, would you rather Jonathan Taylor or David Montgomery as your RB2?
Oh, I love Jonathan Taylor. I really do. But just that crowded backfield, I know that the upside is there, but I want the guaranteed touches with Montgomery.
Ryan.
Montgomery for now, but I'm starting to really turn towards Taylor. Aaron Larson just put out an article on him again today, and I just keep getting more and more excited.
Hitman.
It's Montgomery for me, but it's like the rookie fever. Remember what happened with Montgomery. Remember who took the first snap for the Chicago Bears?
Mike Davis.
Mike Davis. So
garbage.
I think like Jonathan Taylor, it's just when does he get the job?
Yeah.
Like 4 games in, 8, 10. Because if it's in 4, then give me Jonathan Taylor. But I can't guarantee that, and I know that Montgomery has his job.
I'm going to preach this again like I'm John Helmkamp. I am riding Jonathan Taylor till the day he retires. Oh, baby, I love him.
He is awesome.
Oh, I love John, and I love other John. Take that which way you will, whoever you want other John to be. But no, I drafted JT as second overall in my Dynasty League. I am very excited for this guy, even in 2020.
Would you have taken him first?
Yes. Oh, my goodness, yes. I was so thankful because Josh actually had the first pick in our league, and I asked him, who are you going to take, Edwards-Helaire or Jonathan Taylor? And he had said, I'm probably leaning JT, and I was like, crap, I don't want CEH, so I'll either trade out or take him there.
Wait, you don't even want him?
His pass blocking really, really worries me.
He doesn't have to pass block.
We don't get points for pass blocking, Joe.
They're never going to ask him to do it.
Listen. I think I could have gotten... Again, I didn't shop because here's what happened. Josh traded out of the number 1 pick. He got some picks in Joe Mixon.
No,
for the number 1 overall.
Straight up for.
Oh, you just got Joe Mixon straight up.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got Joe Mixon straight up. So he basically traded Joe Mixon for Jonathan Taylor because that's who he would have picked. And I was so happy that Clyde Edwards-Helaire went 1 because I wanted Jonathan Taylor so bad just because I liked his rushing upside way more. And I just
those 2 down guys, huh?
No, because JT can catch. He comes from Wisconsin.
I know he can.
Yeah,
he's great. I love Jonathan Taylor. I had the first pick in our rookie draft this year in the Footballers Dynasty League, and I mean, I was as soon as round 1 was over, it was like my heart was exploding because I actually had a pick. You know, like it wasn't trending that way of it was going to be, okay, which of the wide receivers am I going to take with this first pick? Like, this sucks. I don't want to be the first pick right now. And then Allaire just tugged on my heartstrings. I was very happy. Jonathan Taylor, though, I at least considered it. I think Jonathan Taylor is an absolute monster. But at the end, it was like, okay, I'll take the Patrick Mahomes offense over
fair.
whoever is playing quarterback for them next year.
That's fair. I think their offensive line is so good. And before we move on to our next Would You Rather, Dominate FF is asking, hey, Mike,
up,
is that a
Nate?
Christmas tree on the other side of your keyboard?
You're darn right it is.
It's Christmas in July.
They're very happy about the tree, apparently. And there he is showing it. There we go.
It's got cardinals on it. My wife and my daughter made this for me many years ago.
That's awesome.
So
Are you a
judge
Cardinals
me now, people.
Yeah, Nate.
Hey, Nate, you can't see them, but I have Christmas lights hanging up in the back. I am Christmas all year round. I love it.
Yes.
That's fantastic. All right, so moving on. I know we have Lauren, Faith, and Nate wanted to see the tree like very badly, so I had to get that in
You
before
got
we
it.
moved on. All right, two guys that we actually just mentioned in the same sentence a while ago: Devin Singletary or David Montgomery for your RB2, Josh.
Oh man.
I would take Montgomery. I don't trust Singletary much at all this year, in all honesty.
Okay, Ryan.
Posted this on Twitter the other day. The Bills running backs have 9 total touchdowns in the last 2 years, so I'm going to go ahead and take Montgomery there.
Okay, Hitman.
I have Singletary ranked 3 spots higher than David Montgomery right now. I'm not scared of Zach Moss. I get it. Like I understand some people liked him. I didn't like his tape in particular. And if they want to give him the Frank Gore role, that's a very confusing statement because the Frank Gore role when Devin Singletary was healthy was touching the ball very minimally. I mean, it was the goal line, which Frank Gore was very, very bad at last year.
Yeah, he was not good.
I mean, he's 37.
Look,
I love him.
You will never hear an anti-Frank Gore take. Like the dude's a legend.
I love Frank Gore.
He should probably stop playing football, though. But
No, keep him going. I can't wait till he makes the AFC East round trip and ends up in New England for his final
I just want to
season
see him
next year.
trot out with like the Santa Claus beard and just bring it. Like that's what I want to see.
Give me the gray Ryan Fitzpatrick beard on Frank Gore. How much more menacing could that man look? Oh,
he would be
Frank
awesome
Gore.
with that beard.
I love Frank Gore. All right, so there's a lot of young guys in this conversation here. So at 24, RB24, they're going basically back to back. DeAndre Swift or David Montgomery as your RB2. Josh.
I'll take Montgomery. I love Swift, but I don't trust Detroit. That situation is where running backs go to die.
Okay, Ryan.
Yeah, Monty for me.
Hitman.
Montgomery, apparently. We got some meowing
Yes,
going
there's a
on
cat
back
in the
there.
back. Yeah. Didn't know if the mic was picking it up. Don't know if she's hungry. Don't know what she wants. If she jumps up here during the podcast, she will be featured on the camera.
No one knows what cats want.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I don't. Half the time, cats don't even know what they want.
You're telling me. My goodness.
But yeah, Montgomery.
Yeah, I also go Montgomery there. I'm excited for what DeAndre Swift can do, but Josh, like you said, Detroit is where running backs go to die.
Plus, I will never let go of my love for Kerryon Johnson.
Oh,
And-
gosh, you're one too.
Oh boy.
He thought
I like Kerryon Johnson. The funniest part about Kerryon Johnson is I watched his tape, his rookie tape for this a couple years ago, before Jason did, and I was like, Jay, have you watched Kerryon yet? He said, no. I'm like, okay, I don't want to infect you. I didn't give him any of my takes, but because everything I had read, from like dynasty friends that I respect, everyone was very meh about Kerryon Johnson, and I watched. I was like, holy crap, this dude's so freaking good!
Yeah, he's
like,
really
what am
good.
I? How am I seeing something that no one else is seeing? And then Jason came back, and you know how that went. Like his love for Kerryon surpassed even mine. So we were both on that wagon. Jason just was far more vocal about it.
Yeah, I think Kerryon's
wagon
going to have a
very
better year this year. He did so much better in college with a tandem backfield. So now they bring in
Sure.
someone like Swift. I think that'll actually help him.
I agree on that sentiment. And I'll also pick David Montgomery. I forget if I gave my pick, but I will pick David Montgomery. All right. So now we go to guys being drafted after David Montgomery. So RB26, Raheem Mostert, the aforementioned, or David Montgomery as your RB2, Josh.
Montgomery, because I know he's going to touch the ball more than Mostert.
Okay. Ryan.
Montgomery.
Hitman.
Mostert by a spot.
Ooh,
I got
okay.
him one. I got him ranked one spot higher than Montgomery, and I get the volume argument. I usually love to lay down at night and rest my head on the pillow of volume, but Shanahan running backs and
So
Mostert's
good.
the best
Yeah.
one.
But
on
that's
the
the
team.
problem. You don't know who it's going to be week to week half the time.
But
That's why
this-
Mostert is so hard for me to trust.
To me, it's more about, do they just not buy into the breakout? Because the second half of the year, he
was fantastic.
It was Montgomery, and he was coming back. They had just brought in Tevin Coleman as the guy, and which I don't blame Shanahan. Like, Shanahan coached Tevin Coleman and said, and probably thought for a long time, oh, this is going to be great. Once I get Tevin over here, he's going to be amazing. But then Mostert was better, so I believe that Mostert will still be on the team, and he will be the leader of the timeshare.
Love that. I'm also going to lean Mostert just because I absolutely love the guy. I think he's a lightning bolt in the backfield. He runs downhill, which is something that I love and that I feel you rarely see in the NFL anymore unless it's Derrick Henry. He doesn't give a crap. He's going to punch you right in the mouth with the football, and that's what I love. All right, David Montgomery or rookie Cam Akers out of Florida State. Josh, for your RB2 in 2020. Josh.
I actually have Akers one spot higher in my ranking, so I'm going to lean Akers. I think that, again, this is the same situation as what we were talking with the Bears and drafting Kmet. Like, they got rid of Gurley. What did they do? Their first pick, they need offensive line help. No, they draft a running back. He's going to be the guy there. So it's crowded, it's cloudy, but give me Akers.
Ryan.
I'm not going to even attempt to figure that Rams backfield out. Give me David Montgomery.
Okay,
Yeah.
Hitman.
I would Montgomery. I mean, I'm rising on Akers. He's just a couple spots now behind Montgomery for me, but it's the mystery box of the Rams, because I can make the same argument from 2 years ago. The Rams needed help in a lot of different places. They had Todd Gurley at the time, and they still drafted Darrell Henderson in the third round. Like,
Yep.
this team just, they're a little willy-nilly with their draft picks. I mean,
And they
Sean
don't
McVay-
have any. That's the problem.
Right. Yeah, they never have them. But go back to Sean McVay's first draft pick. They had a second rounder. They needed a whole bunch of things. He's like, no, I'm taking Gerald Everett.
Yep.
And we still haven't really seen it from Everett.
Well, and then it goes back to where they fought Detroit to keep Malcolm Brown. They could have gotten a draft pick. It just doesn't make sense.
That's no, you're right. I'm gonna also lean Montgomery there just because I feel he's just. I feel like you kind of know a little more what you're gonna get from Montgomery than you know what you're gonna get from Cam Akers.
I think there's higher touchdown upside with Akers than with Montgomery.
yes.
I will agree with that, yeah.
Yeah. So a couple of things here before we move on to the Los Angeles Rams, Cam Akers' new NFL team. Keys Ball from Facebook asked, does Riley Ridley become relevant this year? And I feel this is a very interesting question. And I'll start with Ryan. You haven't let us off on anything, so I'll start with Ryan on this one. Does he become relevant this year?
I don't see how anyone in that offense is going to become relevant much. Obviously, Allen Robinson's the big dog there. We want to see an Anthony Miller breakout. They brought in Ted Ginn, who I think is going to slide right into the role that Taylor Gabriel left out. I don't see room for Ridley to do anything relevant at all. So
We'll
I'm
go
with
to
you, Ryan.
Josh. Yeah. Okay. Go to Josh.
I think people are talking about Riley Ridley because his brother is Calvin Ridley at this point. Like, I didn't see a ton that really blew me away in college, and then he ends up on the Bears, which sure they could probably use some depth there, but you don't bring in Ted Ginn if you believe Riley Ridley can be something. Just my thoughts.
That's fair. Hitman.
Yeah, fourth round wide receiver on a bad team. It's just the odds are very against him.
So in short, no, don't draft him. In
sorry,
short,
Keith.
Very correct.
it's all good. All right, on to the Los Angeles Rams moving into the brand new SoFi Stadium, sharing their marriage with the Los Angeles Chargers, who will not be able to fill one luxury box in that stadium.
Great news. They don't have to. We don't.
Yeah, that's
This is a dream scenario for them this year.
Literally, they move into a brand new stadium and don't have to sell tickets. Imagine they get good this year and gain fans. That's perfect. All right, so the upside here, Josh and Ryan on the agreement train once more. Josh Reynolds, the technical third receiver on the depth chart right now. Downside, Josh.
He's free. I mean, it's all upside at this point.
Yeah. Downside, Josh, you have Tyler Higbee. Ryan, you have all of the running backs. Not one specifically, just all of them.
Nice.
Trust fall. Everyone's favorite nickname in the NFL, Bobby Trees. Robert Woods. Rookie to watch, Cam Akers. My sleeper, I have Van Jefferson. Talk about a guy that's going to compete with Josh Reynolds for that wide receiver 3 spot in the offense. I feel, at least in our Dynasty League, I felt like, when at the beginning, like, and I don't know what it is now, but like in early May, mid-May, we were doing our Dynasty drafts and more people were doing their rookie drafts. Van Jefferson was wildly underrated. Like, he was going in the 4th round. And I feel that he should be going a little higher. I didn't know too much about him at the time, but I think Van Jefferson, I mean, if we're looking at it, Ryan said his downside is all the running backs. I don't like Gerald Everett. Tyler Higbee's being taken, I believe, where he should be being taken, but we'll get to that in a sec. So that kind of narrows it down to Van Jefferson. That's really all I had to choose from. But I do like his upside this year. And then Aaron Donald for the IDP. Oh, the best player in the league.
I don't know if you really need to go into much explanation on that one, Joe.
Both sides of the football. Oh, my God. Love Aaron Donald. Yeah, I don't, but I just need to say he's the best player in the NFL, both sides of the football. No doubt. Okay. So I see we're getting a lot of Robert Woods love in the chat here.
Yes.
An absolutely incredible amount of Bobby Trees love. And something from Chris Molina. This is a question that before we get into Tyler Higbee, I do want to bring up. What are the chances that Robert Woods finishes as a top 5 wide receiver? That, to me, I feel like, I don't know if it's realistic, but I definitely feel he can vie for a top 10 finish and get really, really close to top 5. I'll start with Hitman on this one. How do you feel about Bobby Trees finishing in the top 5?
As the top 5, I would put it at less than 1%. Like his career high in a season for touchdowns is 6 2 years ago. Like, it just, for some guys it happens. For some guys, touchdowns don't happen. I love Robert Woods. I mean, I would put his top 10 upside as very practical. Like 30%. He's him and DJ Chark are the biggest values to me in drafts that are happening right now. Like, I am Robert Woods over Cooper Kupp. I'm afraid of Cooper Kupp and what could possibly happen. You should have zero concerns with Robert Woods, though. At the beginning of the year when they played in one offense, still great. When the offense switches and they go to the 12 personnel, guess who's still great? Robert Woods. He just doesn't score touchdowns. He's a PPR machine. Yardage is great. So, but top 5 is just, it would have to be a massive, massive touchdown outlier year for Robert Woods.
I see in the chat that Lauren is screaming 12 personnel.
If anyone needs any breakdown of what's going to happen with the Rams this year, Lauren put out an amazing article. I think she just titled it Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp, where she breaks down what they did in 11 personnel versus 12 personnel. I used it for all of my research for this podcast. So she killed it. It's literally going to make or break who is going to blow up for the Rams this year. So,
good friend of the show, stepmom Lauren, along.
She's actually going to be hosting some of our shows.
Yes, along with Faith, who is also in the chat here as well in the month of August, focusing on the women in fantasy football. Have an awesome lineup for you guys. Stay tuned to our socials at Club Fantasy FFL. But the big name that I feel is getting a lot of controversy And Josh, it seems that you agree with this, and I'm sure Ryan and Mike do as well. Tyler Higbee, so he's currently going, if you're according to Fantasy Pros, wow, he has shot up. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I didn't realize how
7 now.
Yeah, didn't realize he's going that high. I take back my previous statement of he's being drafted where he should be. No, he's not. So he's currently going mid-8th round according to his overall. He's tight end 7, as Josh just mentioned. That, to me, is very high. Josh, you clearly agree, and I would like you to explain further.
As would I.
Well, I remember listening to an episode, it was a couple weeks ago, I believe, when you guys were talking about tight ends in like that 6 to 10 range, which was like a dead zone, that most of those guys that are drafted there don't actually finish there. Yeah. And now we're looking at somebody that's being drafted there. And when you look at what Tyler Higbee not only has done leading up to last year, but then really only the last 5 weeks of the season. We do this as fantasy pundits, analysts, whatever you want to call us, every single year. We start taking these small sample sizes. Oh, if he did this over a full 12 or 16 weeks, he's going to be this much, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. And it just gets so overblown. Tyler Higbee has done nothing. And he's been in the league now for 4 years. His career high wasn't even 300 yards receiving. And then, doubled it in the last 5 weeks of the year. Yeah. So, yes, I understand that the Rams they started using more 12 personnel towards the end of the year. That is correct. That had to do more so for me because of Gerald Everett's injury. The offensive line was bad. But when you look at the amount of times that Jared Goff was under pressure at the start of the year versus the end of the year, there's not much difference. He had 2.58 seconds to get off a pass from the first 10 weeks of the year. He had 2.62 seconds to throw the football the last 5 weeks of the season. So it wasn't a great improvement. Tyler Higbee, for me, is just all right, he shot up because he was on the field. When Everett was out from weeks 13 to 15, they brought in Johnny Munt to play that sort of second tight end role. He is a blocking tight end. That was going to be the guy that was going to be on the line where Higbee typically is, where Everett's running the routes. Everett is typically over 50 some odd targets every season. That's what Higbee was getting. Now you're going into this season, Everett is healthy. They also drafted Bryson Hopkins, who's very similar in skill set to Gerald Everett. So that tells me that they really aren't going to have much of a problem shifting Higbee back into the role that he was. Sure, he shined and exploded. He was a tight end 1 the last 5-6 weeks of the season. But I just don't see it when you're looking at the spike in the snap counts with all the other variables. Cooper Kupp works best out of the slot. You move him outside, he's not nearly as effective. So I think this base offense is 11 personnel. It was 89% that they ran 11 personnel in 2018 when they went to the Super Bowl. They've been over 73% each of the last 3 years. This is the base foundation they want to run. And if that's the case, Higbee's not going to be able to do what he did over the last 5 weeks. And I think tight end 7 is just way too high of a price.
All right. You done?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, look, it's very fair. The Rams, it's all about what do you believe. Did the offense shift for just a patchwork to finish the season, or did they see the success of that, and do they move forward with that? The thing about the 11 personnel is they had Brandon Cooks. They traded the world to get Brandon Cooks. Who's their third wide receiver now? Josh Reynolds. Come on. Is it Van Jefferson? They don't have the personnel for that anymore. They have the personnel to go to the 12, to 12. And Tyler Higbee is, maybe they want to move him around, but the dude's also sitting on a brand new 4-year, $30 million contract. He's important to the team. Josh, how many 100-yard games or 100-yard games does Gerald Everett have?
He had one last year. I know that for a fact.
That's the only one he's ever had.
And I know Higbee
Tyler
had 4
Higbee
in a row
rattled off 4 in a row.
Yeah, I get it.
And let's not even look at Tyler Higbee. Let's look at their quarterback, the face of the franchise, Jared Goff, or as on the footballers we call him, Jared Garf. Before Higbee broke out, he was averaging 23 completions for 272 yards and 1 touchdown. That's what he was averaging. That shot all the way up to 29 for 330 yards and over 2 touchdowns a game. I don't understand why people are so quick to write off something that worked with tremendous effect. Their offense got way, way better when they went to this. And yeah, it was a product of opportunity for Tyler Higbee. But he came through. Like, lots of guys have received opportunity, and they just take a crap all over the field, and Tyler Higbee was incredible. So the reason why tight end 7 is okay with me, because at that point, tight ends, they're most going to miss. Most of those guys are going to miss. But if Higbee hits, then he's in the top 3. Like, if he hits, he skyrockets. But if he misses, I don't think you set too much draft capital on fire. And the probability of Tyler Higbee truly having a full season of breakout, to me, is just, it's such a higher probability than a couple guys going in front of him, a couple guys going behind him. So I'm willing to take the shot on Higbee for that tight end 7 price.
Can I just point out that 2 of those games that he had, those big games, were against Arizona, who were so bad against the tight end. I mean, that's like saying that, Hawkinson had a great year when he only had that one big game against Arizona, and so much of his stats were inflated as a result of that.
Yeah, I won't argue. They were the worst.
By far.
Isaiah Simmons will fix that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
I think the big thing about Higbee, though, is he was the tight end 1 to end the year, only scoring 3 touchdowns. With Gurley, you're losing 14 touchdowns. With Brandon Cooks, it's another 2 gone. That's 16 touchdowns they scored last year. We don't know that these new guys are going to be able to come in. Malcolm Brown scored 5 touchdowns, but he did it in 3 games. It's not going to take a lot for him to be a top 10 tight end. And if those touchdowns start funneling his way, like Mike said, he could creep into the top 5 easily just by scoring. So
I just feel like it's a lot of ifs. It's if this, if that, if this, if that.
That's all tight ends are, though.
Yeah.
Well, and that's fine. And
let's play the game.
Why,
Start the game, Joe.
Would you
when it comes to tight ends, I would much rather pay up for the big guy or just absolutely punt, because just like you guys talked about on that podcast a couple weeks ago, that dead zone in that 6 to 10 range, it will kill you on draft day.
Can we just acknowledge that Mike asked for the would you rather, and that's the best thing. It settles all debates. It settles every debate. So you talk about a would you rather. Well, Mike, Lauren has one for you: Tyler Higbee or Blake Jarwin.
This is a mean thing to do, and
both
honestly,
guys got paid.
Yes, and the honest truth is, I would take Blake Jarwin because I have an irrational amount of confidence that Blake Jarwin is going to break out. But like Josh is saying, I can wait till the end of a draft and take my shot on Blake Jarwin. I do have Higbee ranked higher, though, but not by much. Only 2 spots. I love Blake Jarwin.
I feel like your irrational hope for Blake Jarwin is like my irrational hope for Alan Lazard. I am high.
Yes, the Lazard King. I'm in on that. Let's go.
I am so high on him this year. Oh, so high on him this year. Okay. And Josh, something that you talked about, the offensive line for the Rams. I do want to point out they didn't improve the offensive line at all. It is the same offensive line. They drafted Tremaine Ankrum in the 7th round and got an undrafted free agent, Cole Cabrel, at center. Yes. They currently have
They re-signed a 38-year-old
left tackle to a 2-year deal. 2-year deal for a 38-year-old left tackle. Now, granted, Andrew Whitworth in his heyday was arguably the best left tackle in the league.
Mm-hmm.
He is currently probably a bottom 5 left tackle in the league. Like I
don't know about that far now.
Josh, I mean, the guy can't move. He can't move. He's 38 years old. He has blocked 300-pound men for the last 15 years of his life. Do you know how bad his knees are?
Oh, I'm sure they're shot.
Like that's something. That's something I wish the Rams would have addressed, but it's something I think that plays to Higbee's
I say that's an argument for Tyler Higbee.
Yeah, exactly. It's an argument for him because normally tight ends live in the short game, and if Goff doesn't have enough time for Cooper Kupp and Woods to get open, let me just throw to my giant tight end who can probably just reach out and catch the football. So,
all right, I'll just end it with this. I would much rather be wrong about Higbee than waste the draft pick.
Sure.
How about that?
Well,
We'll leave it at that.
No, that's how you have to play fantasy football. I'm making the choice. I'm willing to be wrong.
So I don't care if the show goes a little longer. I want to go back to our Bobby Trees.
Mike might care. Come on,
no,
Joe.
Mike might care. No, we're going for 2 hours here, Josh. Calm down.
I'm very important. I have very important things to do.
So I want to go back to the Robert Woods thing because, Mike, you had said, and I believe most of us here on the show agree, that you would rather have Robert Woods over Cooper Kupp.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing is Kupp's currently going at wide receiver 15. Robert Woods is going at wide receiver 20. And we talked about the potential of Robert Woods finishing as a top 5 receiver. It's more likely he finishes as a top 10. More likely he finishes as a wide receiver 1. So what I want to ask, and go back to Mike's favorite game now apparently, is the Would You Rather. Because I think there are some interesting guys that you look at that are going 9, 10, 11, and 12 to where I would say I might argue I want Robert Woods as my wide receiver 1 over them. So here's my question. DJ Moore or Robert Woods as your wide receiver 1? Josh.
Take it easy. Take it easy over there.
Oh, give me Robert Woods. I've already been on record that I think the DJ Moore hype and redraft is getting out of control. I love him, and I will buy him up in Dynasty. I have him on, I think, 3 Dynasty teams, but I'm not as big a fan of him in redraft this year, so give me Robert Woods.
I do want to mention there is a 2.5 round difference between DJ Moore and Robert Woods currently. So, Ryan, to
there's that too. So
yeah.
Woods.
Okay, Mike, my guess is you're going DJ Moore?
Yes, I'm going DJ Moore. People, DJ Moore in 14 games. Yes, he played in 15 games, but he was knocked out immediately. So 14 games with Kyle Allen as his quarterback.
You mean the elite Houston quarterback?
Sure. Almost 1,200 yards and only 4 touchdowns. Teddy Bridgewater is so much better than the quarterback play that he had last year. Like,
I don't think he's that much
Listen,
better.
I don't know. Kyle Allen's pretty elite.
Yeah, come on. Someone got a contract that involved a truckload of money, and someone is now the backup.
He was fucking with the Saints. I mean, that happens, you know?
Hey,
you're going to pay the man off of that. Like, then you add in Robbie Anderson with this. I don't think there's going to be enough targets to go around. That's just my personal opinion.
So my last one that I want to bring up, I won't even bring up Juju because I know Mike.
Juju's so tough, man.
Yeah. Okay. So we all agree here on that Juju sentiment. The one that I think is interesting, Odell Beckham. He's currently going wide receiver 12. Would you rather Odell Beckham or Robert Woods as your wide receiver 1? Josh.
Woods.
Ryan.
Woods.
Hitman.
It's Robert Woods, but this is an interesting question because, like I said, I give Woods essentially no shot to be a top 5 wide receiver. But then, okay, what's the percentage chance that Odell Beckham is a top 5 wide receiver? It has to be high. Like if you're saying it's a lower, if you're saying it's a lower percentage chance that Beckham is a top 5 than Robert Woods, you are lying to yourself. Yeah. You haven't watched elite Odell Beckham, who was playing he was playing hurt. I know it sounds like just an excuse, but he had an injury in this part of his body, which to me is pretty important for a wide receiver to have that be healthy. I'm hesitant on Odell Beckham just like everybody else, but the chance he's actually top 5 is much greater than Robert Woods.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if I trust the Browns offense just yet. I think
you should.
Listen.
We fell for that last year, Mike.
Listen, Kevin.
Look, here's the difference. Here's the difference. They traded their best offensive lineman to get Odell Beckham last year. They screwed it up. They blew up the offensive line, and they let passion take over and signed a coach who should not have been a head coach in
Freddie
the
Kittens.
NFL. Yes. But now everything they've done this offseason is the offensive line. Baker Mayfield needs an offensive line. He was like leaps and bounds better as a rookie because he had protection, and a better offensive system. So I'm back in with Baker and the Browns.
That's fair. No, that's completely fair. I just don't know if I want Kevin Stefanski leading men. That just, to me, I know he comes from Mike Zimmer, but Kevin Stefanski doesn't. He strikes me more of a Freddie Kitchens, let me just be quiet kind of leader, and less of a Mike Zimmer. Like, I don't know how old Mike Zimmer is, but I'm afraid of Mike Zimmer. Like, I feel like he's
okay. That's fair.
He just
I don't
punch
know
in the mouth.
Stefanski. I don't think I've even seen like interviews with him.
I haven't, like, Stefanski.
But that's on us.
It's a complete unknown. Like, we don't know. So, I mean, if Stefanski comes out, we know his offense is good. Like, we know his offense that he runs is
very
good.
ball control.
Yes. So
I'm in on the running backs more so than the wide receivers with Cleveland.
Agreed. All right. So, now we start with Josh's beloved Philadelphia Eagles. Josh, your upside to nobody's shock, Myles Sanders. Ryan, we'll skip that guy.
Yeah,
His downside.
I'm okay with that.
Oh,
It is if you know what, if you haven't seen his Instagram recently, why don't you go check it out? Or his Twitter. Yeah.
Look, and this is I'm not defending him at all, but the man has apologized multiple times.
Yes.
Now he made a really stupid mistake.
Yes, he did.
Stupid. Goodness gracious.
Listen, everyone makes stupid mistakes. It's owning up to it and apologizing for it, and I think he hopped on that very quick. So, props to Deshaun Jackson for doing that.
Yeah.
So at least there's that. So Ryan's upside is Deshaun Jackson. Downside, Josh, you have Dallas Goedert. Ryan, you have Jalen Reagor. Ooh, Josh, that must hurt.
It does.
Trust fall.
Very much so.
Josh, you have Zach Ertz. Ryan, you have Myles Sanders. Both of you have Jalen Reagor as your rookie to watch. My sleeper is D-Jax. I wanted to go with Boston Scott. My heart really wanted to put Boston Scott here. But I wasn't. I wasn't going to do that. And then IDP, don't draft anybody on the Eagles. They're all terrible. They're not good for fantasy football. I just love Darius Slay, so I highlighted Darius Slay. One of the biggest Darius Slay fans here. Absolutely love him. Okay. So we move back to, I mean, you talk about a guy that I feel everybody is excited for. Everyone seems to be hopping on the Myles Sanders train. And we will start with our resident Eagles fan, Josh. If someone isn't on the Myles Sanders train, please explain to them and to me why they should be.
So just from weeks 1 through 16 in PPR, he handled 39% of the team's rushes and finished as RB13. That, to me, tells the whole story. Because now you're talking about going into a season where they didn't add a veteran running back. We saw Boston Scott do well towards the end of the year, filling in, spelling him in the receiving game. But Myles Sanders, and I love this tweet from Ian Hartitz, the top 4 Doug Peterson single-game running back snap rates for the 4 years that Peterson has run the Eagles. Week 13 of 2019, Sanders had 87% of the snaps. 2019 week 11, 85%. 2019 week 12, 85%. 2019 week 16. All of these were Sanders. What does that tell you? Everybody wants to bang the drums of everybody was hurt. Sure, it was everybody was hurt. I get that. But everybody's banging the drum for Peterson only runs a running back by committee. Look at who his top running backs were. 2016. Ryan Matthews didn't get through all 16 games.
You better pump your brakes on any Ryan Matthews disparaging comments.
I love Ryan Matthews.
But he's always hurt. That's like, I love him as a runner. He's very aggressive. He was fun to watch, but he was always hurt.
Yes, he was.
LeGarrette Blount in 2017, they didn't believe in him enough, so they traded for Jay Ajayi. 2018, Ajayi gets hurt. They have to rely on a true running back by committee with Smallwood and Clement and Josh Adams, who led the team in rushing. And then last year, Sanders led the team with 179. Howard only played the 10 games and had 119 rushes. Now you're going into the season. Sanders is the guy. He was one of only 5 running backs last year to have more than 10 yards per reception. That, to me, tells you how dynamic he is as a player. Even if he only gets 52% of the rushes, every year that every year that Peterson has run the Eagles, they have only not rushed for 400 attempts once, and they hit 398. They're going to run the football 400 times. Even if he only gets 208 rushes, which is what I have him pegged at, I still have him as a top 10 running back, and I'll take that value all day.
It's crazy because I think Jalen Hurts might get 100 of those rushes with Carson Wentz being injured like 10 games throughout the year. So, no.
I'll jump in
on my quarterback.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'll jump in because on your stat about the 10 yards per reception, and that drops down to 3 players if you're talking about running backs that had more than 40 targets. So he actually had volume. It was Sanders, Eckler, and David Johnson. Now, I like that stat a lot, but I also used that stat 2 years ago against Tariq Cohen because that's what he did. He had more than 10 yards of reception, and everyone fell head over heels in love with what Tariq Cohen had did. And I was like, people, you gotta pump the brakes on that. You like running backs just don't average over 10 yards. He had some huge
No,
plays.
I don't think he's going to do that again. I mean, towards the end of the year, he was their deep threat because they didn't have any wide receivers.
And I'll say this, I'm on the wagon. Like I want Myles Sanders on my team. I have him at RB11, so just outside of my top 10. But to play the devil's advocate, it was his job at the beginning of the year. Myles Sanders was the go-to running back. Jordan Howard took the job from him because Sanders was not good. Go look at the game log at the beginning of the year.
Oh, no, it is true. Yeah, he could not hit the hole in the middle. His vision was very skeptical.
He was bad. And then Jordan Howard was great. So look, we could be very wrong. That's all I'm saying. We could be very wrong about Myles Sanders. The good news is at least when he came back and Jordan Howard was hurt, Myles Sanders showed us what he could be, which is great for an NFL team. So at least it wasn't like Montgomery where it was just, he's getting the ball, but he stinks. He's not doing anything. Myles Sanders showed that he was great. But of that tier of the top 12 guys, he's the one I'm the most nervous about.
That's fair. I mean, a second-year guy, you should be nervous considering some of what he showed last year was very
And they wanted
subpar.
Carlos Hyde. The team wanted Hyde.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Maybe because Doug Peterson likes a running back by committee.
I just think he wanted some veterans there. I mean, he's dealing with a lot of young guys.
A couple of things, though, that I wanted to throw out because everyone says, he didn't get good until Howard was hurt. Well, Howard's gone, so it doesn't matter anymore. But then also there's this whole thing about he got all his work after Howard left. He only had 49% of the Eagles' total carries in the games where Howard didn't play. So it was already a committee, and he already did what he did. He was the running back 7 for the last 6 weeks of the year. 63 targets last year. I don't see the wide receivers improving much again this year to where I think the targets are still going to be there for him. And even if he's only seeing, like you said, 52%, he doesn't even need that to be a top 10 running back.
I don't know where to go from here. This is all very good. There's no easy segue for me here. So I'm gonna go.
I was waiting for Mike to be like, "Why don't you like Dallas Goedert this year?" Because I saw your reaction when you announced it.
Well, it was just I have him at tight end 15. Like I totally get it. I think my face was actually more for your trust fall is Zach Ertz, who
he's the only one that ever gets the targets.
But he's the only one healthy.
Yes, he's the one who gets the targets when everyone else disappears. If everyone is there, if Rager steps up, if Deshaun Jackson is still on the team, and Alshon Jeffrey, I won't get it to Alshon Jeffrey because he's not going to be there. But you have to take I got to find my ADP again here because we were complaining about where Tyler Higbee is going. Zach Ertz, tight end 4, pick overall 51 according to Fantasy Pros best ball average. And Tyler Higbee is pick 82. If you want to talk about probability of Tyler Higbee versus Zach Ertz, yes, it lies with Ertz, but not upside. That top 3 upside for Zach Ertz, I think that's gone.
That's very fair. I have more confidence in the Eagles receivers to stay healthy this year. I'm gonna bite that by week 6. I'm going to bite that by week 6. Listen, they currently have 14 wide receivers on the roster.
Wow.
14 wide receivers.
And they drafted
And they drafted 3.
They drafted 3. They grabbed 2 undrafted. The rest are all looks to be mostly second-year players. So looking at this, there's a great question here from Tyrone on Facebook. Does J.J. Arcega-Whiteside have a chance to be relevant? Currently looking at how our lads has this on the depth chart. It goes Jeffrey outside, Jackson opposite him with Rager in the slot. They have Whiteside backing up Deshaun Jackson on the right side. Do we feel,
That's weird.
Yes.
That is not what the team said.
That's not at all what it's going to be.
I know, right?
Like the team has come out and said that Rager, the plan right now is Rager is going to back up Jackson. He's going to learn one position. They feel like they screwed up with JJ trying to make him learn all the positions. They want Rager to learn one spot. Like we could be into week 2 and not see any snaps from Jalen Rager. That's in the realm of possibility. So yeah, I think Whiteside has a chance to be productive because I don't buy that depth chart at all.
Well, Whiteside,
and then you've got the injury with Jeffrey too. That Whiteside's going to be the guy.
And he's built just like Jeffrey. He's the only other wide receiver that's built like that on the team. So if someone's going to slide into Jeffrey's role, it's going to be JJ. And I'm very interested to see how that plays out.
They led the league last year in 12 personnel. So it's basically going to be outside wide receivers, inside tight ends. That's how they're going to run this offense.
They won't this year, though, because the Rams will lead in personnel.
Right, Lauren?
Arcega-Whiteside, 6'2", 225, runs a 4.54. He has all the tools to break out, I
he was
think.
great at contested catches in college. So
Yeah, went to Stanford. I don't know. It's, by the time Arcega-Whiteside becomes relevant, is Carson Wentz still healthy? This isn't me joking. This is me being legitimately serious. Is Carson Wentz healthy when Arcega-Whiteside finally hits a stride?
Didn't he play all 16 last year?
yes, he did. He's played 4 years in the league and he's finished 2 years. Like it's not like
That's not very good. I wouldn't be quoting that stat.
Yeah, that's a failing grade.
I would stick with last year. Yeah.
Listen, hold on.
it's not like he's getting hurt in the same place every year. Okay,
Check it out, Ma. I got a 50%.
So one thing that I heard that I thought was interesting, and I don't know if there's any truth to this, so do not quote me. But what I heard was there's rumors going around that Wentz might be potentially looking at retirement at the end of this year or in a couple of years, which is why Philly might have felt obligated to take Jalen Hurts in the second round.
This sounds like some 4chan stuff. Where's this coming from?
The dark web.
Yeah.
Listen, I heard it on Cowboys radio. That could be very
that's
biased.
fine. There you go.
Could be very biased. All right? I heard it on 105.3 The Fan here in Dallas. So it could be
I think
very
the reason
biased.
they reached for Hurts was because they're so far up against the cap, and by that I mean $50 million over it going into 2021, that they can't afford to pay an actual backup. So get a rookie on a rookie contract. That's why they drafted Hurts where they did, because
Interesting.
waiting to get a quarterback in the 4th or 5th round, you're not going to have the same type of hit rate that you would if you're taking him in the 2nd round.
All right. And let's end the show off of this because we're finished all with our Look Inside previews right now. Next week, we'll be covering the Buffalo Bills, my New England Patriots, and the New Orleans Saints. Something that happened today on Wednesday, the Ivy League has canceled and decided to postpone all fall sports. And then I believe they're going to give a ruling on their winter sports in about a week or so, when they'll be able to come back. And something that I heard on the radio in Boston this morning, that I found interesting was of the 3 leagues that are currently getting back right now, Major League Baseball, the National Basketball Association, and National Hockey League, who do you feel has the best chance of finishing their season with no interruptions? I thought this was a very interesting question, and I agreed with what each of the hosts had to say. I'll save my answer for the end. I want to start with Mike because I saw you kind of perk up and kind of get the gears turning there of the three that are coming back right now, not including MLS or the NWSL, of the big four sports in America, the three that are coming back. Who do you feel has the best chance of finishing off the season?
So, yeah, I am following these things pretty closely. I need football to exist.
Same.
We all do at this point.
Yeah. So, but to me, it would be Major League Baseball. You could probably, this is where I can throw the joke of like they're not actually athletes, so they're more likely to get sick. Like, I mean, just disparage baseball, but they don't really have to be around each other. Where basketball, they're kind of on top of each other. Did you guys? Are you aware of David Chow, Dr. Chow, Pro Football Doc?
Yeah.
So he had a really interesting video a week or two ago where he kind of gave all of his insight on COVID. Now he's not, this isn't his specialty, but he was talking about how it gave me optimism, I should say, and talking about like how when they shut down the NBA because the guy, his name is escaping me, from the Jazz who tested positive.
Rudy Gobert.
Rudy. And like apparently the night before they had played the Raptors, and he had it then, but then no one from the Raptors got it because we still don't know. They kept using this word viral load, which is really gross. Like it's like the worst phrase I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
But that's what it's all about. Like how much is in your how much of the virus is in your breath, and it's kind of all over the place. So I would vote that baseball would be the one that would make it through.
Okay, we'll go to Ryan next.
It's probably baseball. The one thing is I haven't paid enough attention. Are baseball and hockey isolating in one area like NBA is?
I believe baseball's not. They're traveling.
Right.
I think hockey. They've been very quiet about it, but I believe they're going to Canada. I could be wrong about that, but I believe they're bubbling in two different cities in Canada.
I would almost lean the NBA just because of how they're isolating. They're trying to push through and get this thing done. So I agree with everything Mike said with baseball, and it makes the most sense. My initial thing, because of the NBA isolation, I was going to say the NBA.
Okay. Josh.
I think the issue with the NBA is that it's in Florida where cases are
doesn't help.
Spiking like crazy right now.
I take that back. I should go to Canada anyway. The greatest healthcare in the world.
There was a point of this. All right, there was a point of this. I don't know if you guys remember. This was like May when everyone was formulating their plans, and baseball came out and they said, "Okay, what if we do this? What if we play all the games either in Arizona or we play them all the games in Florida?" Like, that was going to be the plan.
Yes,
in May.
that was the plan. The two worst states that had the coronavirus at that point, they were like, let's just go there.
Still at this point.
I was saying now, maybe this was Florida and Arizona's way of saying we don't want that.
Yeah. So, Josh, to you, what do you say?
I would lean baseball, if anything, because their systems are so deep. Like they've canceled essentially minor league baseball, but they still have that whole those deep rosters of players that even if players opt out or someone gets infected for 2 weeks, they have basically a reservoir to deep into more so than some of the other leagues.
Yeah, I have to go with hockey. I feel like whether they've just been the most quiet about everything happening or nothing to report has come out about any COVID cases with them, there's been very minimal from what I've seen. And I think hockey has the best chance. Yes, it is contact, but they're all covered up essentially, and the NHL
Those sweaty socks though, man.
Yeah, no, I understand
Those
now,
are
but
disgusting.
The NHL's so soft now. Like until you get to the playoffs, it's so soft. I think
stop. It's so much better now.
Okay, listen. I'm not saying that I don't enjoy the fast-paced play of hockey and how beautiful it is. But I want to see someone get their face punched in at least once a game. Like, I want to see fights.
There's fights. You can want great news
th-
for you.
listen,
There's the MMA.
listen.
It exists.
No, because the MMA, they have to fight. That's a requirement. I want to see two players get so pissed off at each other, they drop the gloves, rip off their helmets, and decide to have an MMA fight on the ice.
It's just so
now
ridiculous.
they just have to keep the gloves on when they fight. That's all.
No, take them off. Take them off.
They put a garbage bag over everybody. All right, now you can fight.
Listen. Lauren's saying, what hockey am I watching? Listen, hockey gets rough, but at this point in the NHL, there are not actual fist fights. They very rarely happen. Watch the NHL, count how many fights there were now compared to 10 years ago. The numbers are very, very different, with 10 years ago being much more physical in terms of fighting. Hockey is still physical. It's still rough, but there is not enough fighting at the pro level.
Lauren and I went to a Lightning game last year, and there was no fighting in it.
Yes. It's annoying.
Because it's better. The fighting is so dumb.
Listen, I want 41-year-old Zdeno Chara with his broken jaw going up against anybody. I want to see it happen.
I like that you're like, it's unscripted. Fighting in hockey was like the most scripted crap. That was a soap
I love
opera.
it.
You know who's gonna fight.
I love it. Oh yeah, because there's fighters and then there's bitches. There's the difference.
Good Lord.
Listen.
Here's the problem. In hockey, when they had all the fighting, they would have people that's like they're not even good at the sport.
Yeah.
Your whole job is to be bad at the sport, but you're good at fighting. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. Play the sport.
That was David Backes in the 2019 Stanley Cup playoffs. The only reason the Bruins had him in there was to be an enforcer, and he was bad at that job. Like that's the only reason he was in there. Listen. Lauren, I'm not a Stars fan. I'm a Bruins fan. I don't like you and your team. All right, you're very mean to us. Because she's a Blues fan. They beat us in the Stanley Cup Finals last year.
You just said you don't like her.
No, I don't like. Yeah, all right, maybe I did.
Your
I have said that to Lauren's face on the show. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure
that you
I've said
had
that.
to announce that your team got beat in the finals because the rest of us didn't know.
Yeah,
Like
no,
we don't care.
no one cares about hockey.
Yeah, at this point, no.
No one cares about hockey.
Just
Absolutely
move on,
no one cares.
dude.
Josh, I like ending shows on fun things, okay? Please sue me, all right? Okay. That's all I have. That's all I have as Mike shakes his head very, very angrily at me. Mike, is there-
Ridiculous.
Mike, anything else you would like to add today? Also, let everyone know where they can find you and everything that you guys do with the Ballers.
Sure. So the Fantasy Footballers, we're a redraft show. We're a year-long redraft show. We do talk some Dynasty from time to time, but it's July, so that means we're up to 3 shows a week. They release Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And then once August hits, man, 5 days a week. Look, you could listen to this podcast. You could listen to like a really good one 5 times a week in August.
Wow, what a shot. I love that. I absolutely love that.
Is this where we throw gloves off and we pretend that we're fighting?
Do all you want. We're highlighting the women of fantasy football in August, so your ass
Which
better
is spectacular.
Be here.
It's spectacular.
But no, I love that.
Mike,
no,
it's been a blast having you
yes.
on, dude. This has been so much fun.
Really appreciate it, Mike.
You got it, guys.
No one has ever decided to shit talk us at the end of a show, and I greatly appreciate that.
You're not getting the right guests, man.
I absolutely love that. Oh, that's amazing. Please, all right, listen, to all future guests of the show.
Yes.
Throw bows. We don't care. I'll throw them right back at you. I'm from Boston. And Josh is an Eagles fan, which they're just notorious for being asses.
They're gross.
Yes, absolutely gross. Ryan, who's your I don't know who your team is, Ryan.
So my story is weird. I was a huge Eagles fan. I felt betrayed when they did McNabb the way they did McNabb. My son's name is Donovan. I was a huge McNabb fan. So my favorite team is my fantasy football team.
Oh,
There you go. I love that. And with that, you can follow Hitman on Twitter here at FF Hitman. It says it right there if you're watching us live here on the live stream. You can follow Ryan at the Fantasy 5, Josh at the One Hudsonian, myself at Joe_Zolo, and you can follow Club Fantasy on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL is clubfantasyffl.com. If you're listening to the podcast, you're listening to 97.3 Sunshine Jams of Fort Lauderdale, Miami. You want to see us live. You want us to answer your questions live on air. Be sure tune in Wednesday nights for the live show recording. Always remember, defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy football. We are back next week with the Buffalo Bills, New England Patriots, and New Orleans Saints with David from fantasygo.com. Good night. Have a lovely, wonderful day, evening, night. I don't know where you are. Just enjoy yourself.